joining tonight. I know that we've been in touch. We have some very interesting things to cover tonight, kind of all over the place. There have been some things happening recently within the news on the whole submarine debacle, updates with the Idaho 4, Brian Kohberger, his side of the defense, and then another case that you and I are really going to take a deep dive into. So for all the viewers, thank you for being here. We're so happy you joined us. Get ready, because tonight is going to be a very filled informational session on the three things that I've just outlined. So Todd, where would you like to start?
There's a lot that we are actually sort of discussing before we went on air tonight. And we'll touch up on a few cases. The one was the Idaho one, and explain what happened with that.
Yeah, so apparently there was some news that just broke in regard to whether or not Brian Kohberger might have been set up. And apparently the sheath that was tested and the DNA analysis returned that there were 3 different individual profiles of DNA that were collected. You and I aren't surprised by this. In fact, you know, seeing this, I'm like, duh. Like, have people not watched us?
Yeah, no, first of all, a knife sheath is not enough to convict somebody unless it's actually, you can't say it's a motivator for the crime because it's not actually the weapon. He could have just said, you know, they weren't home, and I was looking for a piece of fruit in the refrigerator. I dropped my knife sheath on the ground. I don't know where I put it, and then I left. So if anybody thinks that that's enough to convict him on that, no. And I was also skeptical about the DNA evidence as well. So the DNA, I knew something was kind of wrong, you know. And well, that here's the other thing too. And I'll say it again, is that I know this Brian. He, you know, he was a student. He was from somewhat of a, you know, okay family, and he had no prior convictions. Big one right there. I felt the people who did this crime had a record. And I would say even 1 or 2 with felony on their records. I gave them the year that they were actually released. The year was last year. It was actually, hold on, it's 2023, so it was 2022. Yeah, actually it could have been 2022. I keep getting June, July of last year. Okay, so for detectives, go check the releases. Washington State would be a good place to check out. Also, Boise, Idaho. Okay, if there's another person up there. So these are people who have been arrested on drug charges, racketeering. I see possibly auto theft. I'm getting not a murder charge, but I'm getting some assaults. Okay. One happens to be, I believe, with a woman. Okay.
Domestic.
So I get that stuff, and then I see Brian. I'm like, who is this? So he was a stalker. You know, I mean, if I've got a lot of I have a lot of stalkers right now on my page and you know, whatever. But I'm just saying, he's a stalker, stalking. I think there was some drug interest there, or people that they were associated with, the roommates were associated with, that he associated with too. I don't think he was totally clean on drugs, Brian. I think there was some kind of usage there. I'm definitely getting anti-anxiety drugs.
Stimulants, really.
Yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
stimulants. He also was a fantasizer, fantasy. But here's the thing, for him to brutally murder all of these innocent people, it's just not adding up to me. And that whether his DNA was on it or not is just not enough. Now, of course, I'm sure that they've done lots of computer work, but and they're saying, oh, but his car was all around town at the time. He was going crazy, going here, going there, and then, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If you're a detective, yeah, you know what? There's a lot of suspicious people out there, but really when it comes down to it, you need to know what kind of person is actually the one to commit a murder.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things I think that's natural to wonder is all of this is happening, right? These revelations are coming forward, and prosecution is being painted in a light that might not be the best, at least given from what we know. So why is he still in jail? Knowing that.
The first thing that came to my mind, they don't have anybody else.
Yeah, and because also we have these stalking charges that have been maybe documented through technological collection, a lot of footage has been collected. We have cellular pings, we have photos and computers and his social media footprint. So there is maybe enough to tie him to these victims somehow. So that was kind of my understanding. We can't just let him go because he might have knowledge that's valuable in tracing down whomever else may have been involved in the situation.
Well, here's I said there was nobody else, but here's another thing. I think they have 3 other people. I think for some reason, now, of course, this is still an open case, so they cannot reveal anything, even to the media.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm detecting they have 3 people on their radar that are being watched. One of them, or possibly 2 of them, have been in jail recently or have been in court recently for some kind of charges. What month is it? June. This was April, something about April. I'm getting some kind of, somebody was in trouble in April. Police noticed it. Police are tying them to possibly this, but they don't have enough to go on. See, in order to actually, I guess, arrest somebody, they need enough. They need enough to go on. So it's kind of like, what do they do? They just, so they have to sit tight. Brian, they do have some evidence with, but to me, it's circumstantial. It's not, it's not going to put him away. In fact, I didn't tell anybody this, but because everybody was asking me, well, do you see him being released? And possible around August or September, something happens, but there's a trial in October or November, is there?
October.
Okay, October. He could actually be released.
Yeah. I felt that too. I initially was feeling very heavily towards the death penalty, pushing heavily towards this because they were very certain that this was the guy. And I think we talked about this in some of our earlier videos. This kind of threat of the death penalty. But that's when we kind of came forward and said there's something about this DNA that is not going to be conclusive of these findings. There's something there that they're not going to be able to prove him and sort of being involved in this matter. And it's going to cause them to question. So now we're also dealing with a situation to where one of the roommates, we'll say BF, she is within a different state. So then you have all of these issues of getting her back to trial testimony, which has caused another additional layer of uproar. State to state lines, and you have these sovereignty issues which are coming forward, and so that there's going to be a lot there, I think, and I think we've touched on that too. That she does hold some information that could actually help to exonerate Brian from these charges that are filed against him, in addition to what the defense's failures seem to outline.
Well, he's keeping tight-lipped. I feel like he's not saying a word.
Yeah.
Actually, I think he's quite smart. He's not revealing any habits, anything in his sleep, anything on the toilet. He's not saying a word about anything. Yeah. The only thing that, it will be an interesting case. They claim they have enough evidence. I feel like I'm hearing the law enforcement side too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just concentrating on the suspect at hand. I'm concentrating on what they're going through. Of course, I have to be careful what I say, but
right.
they do feel that they've got their man. That's what they're saying. They say we've got our man.
They have one of them.
But it just doesn't. There was a lot of people that hung around that house.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was kind of like a lot of people just came to see what was going on, bro. What's happening, dudes? A lot of people hung around. Brian was just very OCD. And, I just don't know too many vegans that are killers. I'm just using logic here. But that's just, yeah, okay.
So do you think he had been to that home before?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like actually inside within maybe a party type setting. I do think he was connected to one of the roommates somehow.
Yeah.
I think that he had some infatuation.
Yeah, they didn't, I don't believe that they had tea together. I don't think that they watched TV together. He was there on occasion to hang out.
Yeah.
It was the girl with the darker hair?
Zaina.
Could have been. So it wasn't like a lifelong friend, just that, could have been a little bit of side drugs here and there.
Yeah.
Not heavy stuff. It was mostly, it causes drowsiness. What would it be? That would be some kind of a pill.
Molly. I got that very, very specifically, and I didn't even know what that was.
I never heard of it.
I've never used it. I've never done any drugs. I'm kind of boring here, but no, I didn't know what it was. I got Molly, so I looked it up, and I was like, this is like ecstasy almost. It was a blue pill, like you were saying, a pill.
Okay, pill. That's what I was thinking, a pill.
Yeah. Yeah. And so
I felt like because I hear Molly and I want to say Molly Hatchet,
Oh.
I'm just kidding. Anyway.
Oh, no. Might be fitting, actually.
But yeah.
I was getting sort of inferences through to these drug distributors, this group that provided that substance. But then I also saw a connection to these girls of whom he was introduced to somehow, and he developed an infatuation towards one of the victims, which I believe I said was Kaylee. And so maybe he, like you said, if he did have an inside sort of relationship with one of the other victims, maybe being Zaina, but he came to know Kaylee through her or through these drug distributors, which I do believe are the ones that did this. Mm-hmm. He developed that obsession. So it's very much multi-layered. You have time lapses, him versus you know, the others that were there at a different time that completed and carried this out.
Yeah, he was
Very
attracted.
complicated.
He was attracted to them, you know, and
Yes. Yeah.
that's happens, and I don't see him staying over. You know, the thing is about the Brian guy is I see. I could be totally wrong, but I see some empathy from him about certain things. I run through my mind. Is he empathetic about animals? Yes. Okay. Is he empathetic about not littering? Yes. He's got a lot of caring sides, which
He does.
when I saw the people who did this in my mind, totally no, totally hardcore.
Yes.
Totally,
Doing a job, getting out.
a lot of tattoos, a lot of muscles there. Shorter than this Brian guy. I think this Brian's pretty tall.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And just a totally different disposition with these. They smell, something about them smelled. They were like,
Yep.
you know, when people have, I've heard this, when they have meth, it comes out of their pores heavily.
Yeah.
You know, dogs can, a good police dog will be able to sniff out a drug user very quickly because they have a smell to them.
Mm-hmm.
You mix some alcohol there, you know, you don't get teeth work done for a long time. And yeah, you've got some, and that's what I smelled from these people. And Brian just does not look like.
No.
Yeah.
And one of the things I think it's important for people to realize is Brian was actually studying criminology. Okay, now we all know that. But why does somebody go into studying criminology? Now, this is not something you hear a lot about, and this is why I feel it's important to bring it up, is that this guy, I feel like he wanted to make a difference. He wanted to do good. He actually, you know, wanted to become an Army Ranger. He had gone through a lot within his life. He had struggled with drug addiction. He had gone through a lot. He was facing the scrutiny of being overweight, trying to lose the weight, trying to be this, trying to be that. But you know what? He made something of himself, and he decided to study in a field to do better for society. Now, this compounded with the fact that he's a vegan, you know, maybe has a love for animals, like you were saying, but he might have been a stalker. But like you said, so what? A stalker doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to go out and murder somebody. I think, and the story that I referenced, so I watched Truth and Transparency, and I watched the Drunk Turkey show channel after one of my viewers left a comment, and I was like thinking about some of the things they were saying about this affidavit release, and I kept coming back to what we've said all along. This is not surprising, and also, why would he do this? There's no reason for him to. Was he framed? Was the question. So
unless there's a, you know, a diverse personality there, which is disorder. True. It's yeah. You know, that happens. You know, just stand at the market checkout sometime at the, when you're, you know, the self-checkout ones, and then you'll see the ones who came in just all looking great, and then by the time they're getting through the self-checkout, this doesn't work. Somebody help me. Yeah, so.
Oh, those are terrible. Yeah, I don't blame them.
So people go through, you know, periods of their life, but from Brian, I'm not seeing. You know, the problem is he's a Scorpio. He's
elusive.
Deep. You know, Scorpio males are, yeah. There's this secretivity, not necessarily bad. It just means they work mysteriously. The women Scorpios I've seen are the doers. They are the CEOs, and they are the make it happen people a lot of times. And I don't know anything so much about astrology other than the basic stuff, but
I don't either.
Now for a brief break concerning a review of 2 affiliate products received at no cost to me through exchange for my honest review. So you guys, we're going to be doing a bit of an unboxing today. I'm so excited. This is the first time I've actually done that. And then we're going to hop right back on in to today's video. This company called I Meet You is through Amazon. They contacted me. They said, "Allie, we love your channel, and we were curious if you'd like for us to send you 2 wallets in exchange for your honest review of our products." I said, sure. They sent me the items very quickly. They were in great shape because I actually just got these last week. This is the first video that I've since posted since receiving these items. And I do want to be clear that this is not a sponsorship. So if you guys end up buying them, if you're interested in these items, I will not be receiving a commissions. I do not get paid by this company. I simply have been provided with some cool swag in exchange for my honest opinion. So like I said, the company's name is I Meet You, and they sent me 2 of these little guys. They are offered through Amazon. Now, the first one that we're going to be opening up is called the I Meet You RFID credit card holder. It's small leather zipper card case wallet with a removable keychain ID window. So if you follow the link, which will actually be sourced within the video's description, you're going to see that I Meet You actually offered us a great deal, because if you guys are interested in getting either of these items that we're reviewing today, you're going to get 20% off of your purchase. So one of the things I really like about this, I am going to show you guys some pictures. I actually want to unbox this with you. This product comes in a really cute little gift box, which is perfect for if you are giving this as a gift. And inside it, the wallet is actually contained by an additional layer that prevents it from getting damaged in shipment. So I decided for this first wallet that I was going to order the dark purple, which this is leather. It's classic. It's a multifunctional keychain card wallet. It is made of genuine leather, you guys. So it's really soft and durable. And you can see when you open it up, there's actually many spaces for things like credit cards, debit cards, gift cards, appointment reminders. There's also a little compartment in here for things like cash or loose change. You know, a lot of the times I want to take a quick trip. I have an errand to run. I don't want to take a 10-pound purse. My purse contains my life, and I just want to take my keys and my wallet. So having this is actually a very, very cool option, actually, in place of carrying your whole purse if you just need to be somewhere quickly. So yeah, I really like this one. I love all the storage. Sometimes things kind of get to the bottom of the purse, and that is always annoying. There's a need to buy a gift for someone. So it's like, what do I get this person? I want to get something that is practical, that can be used, but I don't want to spend a fortune. This is actually a really good option. And what's really cool too, you guys are going to see, I'm going to share some pictures for you, is that there's so many different colors to choose from. That dark purple is absolutely gorgeous. And yeah, I'm excited to use it. Now, the other one that they sent me is actually received in a very similar type of box. They just have some really cute little designs. So for this one, I decided that I was going to order the wallet that we see in letter B as in boy, yellow. So again, comes in the same kind of box. This is link number 2. We have the dust cover protector for adequate storage. And oh my gosh, y'all, this one is so cute. I love it. It has a little bee on it. How adorable is that, right? So this little, what I really love about this little guy, it has a bee on it. That just adds such a cute little touch for, you know, spring, for summer. And I really thought that the yellow was pretty because it does go along well. Currently with my purse choice that I have now, these are in leather. They're cute, they're fun. I love the color options, which is really cool. There's so many different ones to choose from. You will be receiving an additional 20% off, but you do have to follow the link within the video's description. So there will be two of them. Both of them will be linked. The promo code will be activated. And yeah, let's go ahead and get back to today's video. Thank you so much. I meet you for contacting me with this opportunity. And thanks so much to you all for watching.
The other thing that we wanted to talk about too, you wanted to ask about the submarine.
Yes.
Happened. So I was asked on my page, on my Facebook page about this. I said, oh, what submarine? And then, you know, because I don't watch the news, so I had to look briefly. Okay, these billionaires went down in a sub. It was lost. So I went and made a statement on my Facebook page. I said it will be found Thursday. We're like, really? And I said, yeah. So I said a couple other things too. There's like, oh my God, they're running out of oxygen. I said, no, pressure sickness already got to them. So it was pressure.
Yes. Yep.
The other thing I heard was popping eardrums. Okay, so pressure sickness. And then I said, but the one thing that I was telling you I was confused about, I said, no, well, originally it was like, I think a mile away from the ship. And then I thought about it, and I thought, whoa, hold on a sec. It takes a mile to get down to the Titanic, you know?
Couple, I think. I think it was something like 2.25 miles, but they base everything into kilometers, so.
And the other thing that I got was enclosed trench. Not just a trench, they got stuff caving in.
Yes, that was what I asked you about, remember?
The other thing I got was that the first thing that I said to somebody who asked was, I got sabotage.
Yep.
Every single person involved in the submarine wreck had to do with the largest stories of 2023. Listen, SETI stands for Searching for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. Yeah, it's a nonprofit organization that's dedicated its entire business to looking for life in the universe. And, you know, why would it surprise you that one of the guys on the board happened to be inside of the submarine? No, Dylan, no. That's a coincidence. That's fine. But what about this one? It'd surprise you if I told you one of the guys inside the submarine was a manufacturer of the Palestine, Ohio crash chemicals, like literally made the chemicals that were in that fire? No. Or if I told you another one of the guys that was in the sub was connected to ASA, Americans for Safe Airspace, dedicated their entire time looking for UAPs. Connections? Literally, it's part of the largest stories to break in 2023, right? And we don't even get pictures of these men climbing into the sub, locked from the outside. So no matter what, they're not getting out. This is legit coffin getting sent to the bottom of the ocean where no human would ever be able to go, right? Ever. You and I would never find them. And then the submarine's going to literally implode because the guy behind the creation of the submarine bypassed all the rules and regulations for depth. Come on, people.
And I was thinking, okay, sabotage, do I mean that they were suffering pressure sickness? And it does make people crazy. I mean, somebody could be sitting there with pressure sickness and say, haha, guys, I'm going to open the window right now. Okay. No, they really, pressure sickness can make people crazy. It can also, it can cause, delusions, that kind of thing. I used to be a diver. Not that I ever went through pressure sickness, but it's pretty bad. It'll kill you instantly, honestly, but there is other variations of pressure sickness. And if you're prone to it, you don't know if you are or not. It could, that's actually a thing. You don't know if you're prone to it. Now, you said something on the vessel was opened or something.
So I had felt that there was some sort of plug I had gotten a plug that was the problem of many. There were actually many problems. I received mechanical failure and I received plug, which means issue with the plug. So I started to research it because I was like, why would the plug be the issue? And what is that? Apparently, the CEO of this vessel was actually very much into sort of the green initiative, diversity, which is great, whatever. But they had used some sort of carbon filament composite in engineering this portion of the vessel, which had not been tested. And normally, traditionally, you use steel. But they had not tested this new rollout of product that was being used on the sub. And so what happens is this sort of filament apparently is being used in aerospace type of engineering, but with it being submersible and more naval in its structure, it was not something that could withstand the pressures. And so that stood out to me, why I was getting that inference. And I feel as though, now we don't know for sure if this has been published, I don't know, I haven't researched it, but it was almost as though this was a fault of that submersible in addition to the mechanical failures.
Well, what's weird is that I got the word carbon. Okay, I got the word carbon. I think I actually told you that before, but I thought we were talking about CO2 poisoning. That's what I thought.
Oh, no.
But I heard the word carbon. But here's the thing. You don't go a couple miles down below the surface. Hey, let's just experiment with this new kind of plug. Yeah, man, that might look good. Let's put some duct tape around it. It might just fit perfect. Yeah, anybody got some plumbing putty? Let's make it work. Yeah, so even a billionaire, I don't think would kind of overlook something. One of the guys was very, very experienced at this. He's been down many times, so I don't know who that is.
The CEO, probably.
Okay.
I know he was. He had been involved in many of their ventures.
Whoever it is, he's had plastic surgery on his face or something, because I just...
Yeah.
There's something about...
Very melty.
Really? Okay. Is he blonde?
Blonde. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. That's the guy.
Yeah.
There was somebody's son involved in this, or somebody's son who had something to do with this voyage. Do you know about that?
Right. And that's interesting you say that, because when I was first learning about this, and I had seen a picture, as always, like it's always the pictures that get me, don't usually know much about the story otherwise, saw a picture of a couple of these victims. I saw his dad, and at the time I was like, there is somebody who's about to go on this trip that is scared shitless. Like, they don't want to be there. Like, this guy's freaking out. He's like this on the vessel, like clawing at the top, like, let me out. Don't want to be here. But I felt like he went because his dad wanted him to, and he didn't want to let his dad down. So then I found out, okay, well, this guy that I'm seeing is actually the 19-year-old son of this Pakistani father.
Oh.
He went on with him.
Whoever he is, he's very smart. This kid's really smart. Like, I don't know if he's, maybe an honor student or whatever, but he seems very highly intelligent to me.
Yeah.
I also get entities. Now, I must be talking about the boat up on the surface, right? I mean, yeah, there must be a boat up there. Very sophisticated boat with a whole operating room and medical room. I'm getting, there's a helicopter pad on it. Is there? Oh, I don't know. I've never seen it. Honest, I don't know anything about this subject, but I'm feeling quite a complex vessel. I see pictures or plaques, framed, dedications, stuff signed by a president. I'm getting
Yeah.
You know, so these are not newcomers to whatever they do. Very experienced. They get hold on, I get a number 4 having to do with a date or April or something that maybe hold on. There might have been an attempt to do this, but the conditions weren't right at the time to do it. Like before, you know.
Right.
Maybe it was a current, maybe a storm, who knows? I still get a damn helicopter. What the hell does that have to do with? Am I seeing a helicopter to help with the recovery or something, or
Possibly. There
it has
was
floats on it?
there was actually something like a $7 million effort that went into recovering the remnants of these folks, and I was getting, I mean, immediately, I saw them, I saw this happen, and as I told you before, it was like, I felt like they were stuck. They were stuck in some sort of part of the ocean floor, or stuck against something like coral or remnant of the boat. But then, yeah, and so that kind of hit me hard. But apparently, they retracted a couple of pieces from this event, which was actually led by more drone type of technology. But through the search efforts, it could be possible. You could be seeing a naval ship that had a bed for helicopter landing, some sort of aviation purpose, because they spent a lot of money trying to recover these guys.
See, I saw an area that was down there, whether it was near the ship or whatever, that was excavated. See, you like some kind of way into the ship or something was used to pull out dirt. They were getting fragments. This thing was not to look over at the ship's deck or their galley. This was going down deep below to get some kind of view of the whole. No, I'm getting stern. And so it was now they put those millions on a credit card for the recovery. That's like, whoa, how do you come up with $7 million to?
How do we come up with all the money we're sending to the Ukraine? I mean, it just kind of comes out of nowhere, right? This is kind of the case I see with this. These tickets alone were $225,000 or $250,000 per person to attend this voyage, and there were 5 of them. So
okay.
You know.
Yeah, next week, I just want to tell everybody my reading rates do go up. We're
only.
Yeah, it's going to a good cause. Just, you know, maybe, I don't know, 100,000 per half-hour session. And
one reading, yeah.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, people know me.
That's terrible. Who would spend that kind of money to die? I mean, that's just me. Like, I'd be freaking afraid. Like, don't send me down somewhere where I'm not meant to be. I could not do it.
I mean, most people don't even get retirement that much, you know. Yeah,
that's terrible. Crazy. It's, oh my goodness.
World of the rich and famous, as they say. But
I guess.
Yeah, so besides that, it's a terrible event, terrible thing. I'm sure everybody has made their criticisms about this event, but it's a loss of life, and there's families involved, and it's an awful thing.
It is. And I don't think there will be any bodies recovered. I don't get that. I get sludge. I mean, I know that's harsh, and I'm sorry, you guys. Please, you know, fast forward through this if this bothers you, but there's not. The pressure was so immense that the fact that the thing imploded from the top down and kind of caused an explosion did not leave room for there to be anything aside from particles and sludge.
There will be something that they'll find.
Clothing?
Whether it'll be a gold watch or whether it'll be, hold on. Oh. Is there a recorder on these submarines like they do in an airplane, a black box recorder? I'm getting something of a conversation device.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
so
I
that
felt like it was so instant. Did you get that? There were bangs. There were like, I
yeah,
heard sounds.
everybody was kind of saying, "Oh, this is terrible. They're running out of." I said, "No, it didn't happen quite that
Get to
way.
that.
I felt it was pretty instant."
Yes.
There was something about helium used. Helium. Is helium? Yeah, I think that could be used in deep sea dives. Am I thinking the wrong element? But I was getting something about helium.
Interesting.
I'll have to look that up. I don't know if
Hey, I'm curious. I did not receive that. So if you did, there must be something to it. Okay. Helium.
helium and deep water diving.
Yeah. Deep sea diving. Let's see what it says. Oh, wait, hold on. So Trimix is a breathing gas consisting of oxygen, helium, and nitrogen, and is used in deep commercial diving during the deep phase of dives carried out using technical diving techniques and in advanced recreational diving. And that's according to Wikipedia. So that might be what you were touching on.
Okay, so that could be put it on the back burner there, or some kind of an issue with that, maybe. Or maybe it wasn't
Perhaps.
used. Maybe,
Yeah. But they weren't to the point of actually diving because they had not yet gotten to their destination. They were in the process of, I guess, going downward
oh,
when this happened, I think.
that is just so deep to go.
Yeah.
I mean, it's I wouldn't want to do it. I mean, I used to get claustrophobic of the the submarine at Disney World.
Oh.
Yeah, that's about
Yeah.
as I would go.
Wow. Never been there.
My favorite, was when you'd see that people down there, or the guy in the diver suit waving, to a technical mind of events. It could be something that has to do with it.
Yeah.
So anyway, not to get too far off of topic, we were talking about another case
Mm-hmm.
that we talked about for a little while, but then it was, we were getting very mixed clues on it. And which
Yeah.
case was that again?
So this is a case out of Franklin, Indiana, concerning China and Blake Dickus. China Dickus was 26 years old and Blake was 10. So China Dickus, she became 10-year-old Blake's stepmother after his father, Sean, remarried to her. And there was a shared custody agreement between Sean and Blake's mother, Christina, where Blake would switch staying at each of their homes. Now, these pickups and drop offs were always very, very quick and simple because the family dynamic was a really healthy one. Now, everyone got along, including China and Christina. Now, on July 24th of 2006, Blake had just spent the weekend with Sean and China. The arranged plan was for him to go back to his mother's house that night when she got off from work. And there was a phone call, actually, between Blake and his mother while she was still working her shift. And they talked about going to see a movie later that night. Like any typical young, vibrant child, Blake pressed his mother about getting candy before the movie. Now, Christina giggled and agreed before saying her goodbyes. Now, after these movie plans were made, China called Christina, asking if Blake could stay at their house just a little bit later than usual. Sean, the father, was having his lunch break from work, and China wanted to see if Blake could eat with them. So Christina didn't hesitate to say yes. However, she told reporters now that she had wished that she just said no, and maybe things might have turned out differently. So around 12:20 12:45 p.m., Sean returned home and had lunch with them. At 1:45 p.m., he was allegedly back at work. Now, China was supposed to take Blake over to Christina's mother's after lunch, but she had failed to do so. Now, when Christina showed up at her mother's house to find out that Blake was never dropped off, she admitted to becoming a little annoyed. As she drove towards the Dickus' residence, she met with loads of police cars and crime scene tape. She curiously approached a homicide detective that couldn't even look her in the eyes. Slowly, she started to feel an enormous amount of dread and anxiety. "Don't tell me that," Christina had cried. So at 5:15 p.m., Sean reported coming home to find 26-year-old China and 10-year-old Blake savagely murdered. China had been stabbed multiple times while Blake was beaten, smothered, and stabbed. "I wonder, was he calling out for me?" asked Christina. Since Sean was the one to discover the bodies, police zeroed in on him as a potential person of interest, especially due to the personal nature of the attack and his detached demeanor after finding the bodies. So this is the one, you guys. I was contacted by a viewer who is close to this family and who has been seeking answers for so many years about what happened to these two beautiful victims, China and Blake Dickus. And Todd and I have had a moment to evaluate this case further. I have spoken on it briefly in other coverage that I've offered, especially through my statistical recount of all of the Indiana strange happenings with fires and murders and other things we've seen, and how all of these events kind of fall into the statistical threshold of concern. And after hearing from my viewer, we are going to investigate this one further. So, Todd, what are your thoughts?
Well, you've got some serious problems with the father, or the stepfather, I should say.
The father.
Father.
Yes.
Now, was that the child's father?
Yes, it was.
Okay. I just, you know, I don't like to make judgments, but there's some serious flaws there. Some behavior flaws. Okay. Some control issues, anger issues, losing it issues, but mostly controlling. You know, have you ever seen those people that kind of look at you and they're judging you by the second when they're looking at you? They get that kind of feeling. But obviously he was cleared by the police.
He was actually cleared as a suspect after extensive questioning, and he passed a polygraph test.
Well, he's skillful in deception, I will say that. He seems to know law enforcement tactics for some reason, I get. He could be some friends he knows something about that. He's buddy with some, I feel, I don't know if they're military or law enforcement people. Not associated with the case though. There's I don't care if, you know, somebody passes the polygraph test. There's a reason why they were questioning him for so long. You know, I mean, if you question somebody long enough, you'll get the right answer, or you'll give them the right answer, you know, that they're looking for. The only other thing is I see a lot of space in between the questioning. It could have to do with a lawyer. It could have had to do with the interference of a lawyer or something involved with this. Okay, so does the span of time have to do with a polygraph test? Very possible. Also, if you have a very cold demeanor, If you can blank out, I blank out. I kind of, in my work, if you have that detachment thing, that's like a meditation state, you could block out a polygraph test. That's the other thing. When I get to the actual, what's that?
No, I was just going to say, I mean, there's a whole reason why polygraph testing is admissible in court, is because, it's not completely infallible. There are things that can happen that can allow for somebody to beat the findings. And I get that too. This guy, we know he was prior military. That's known about him. I don't know what he did in the military, but I feel like there was planning. I got planning. Something went into this. And when you're planning something, you tend to cross your T's, dot your I's. So I agree.
I see a lot of detachment with him. Just kind of like, if you and I were to go through this, it would be an emotional breakdown.
Yeah.
It would be probably hospitalization if we went through this emotionally. I don't see that from him at all. He was sitting there wondering who did this, but he was acting a little strange when he kept saying that, Although at the window, I kept seeing in the window of the house, I saw a window, somebody looking through that window inside. I saw somebody over by the carport, a garage or whatever. I saw somebody there. This was, the thing is, the son's room seems relevant, like somebody was looking through his window in his room. That's what I get. I'm getting letter C in somebody's name with a suspect because at least 2 suspects in the house.
And a stakeout.
What's that?
A woman. A stakeout that was a woman. In the truck, right?
I don't know if there was some woman there, but I saw I saw somebody outside, somebody waiting by a vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
The vehicle
We
looked
felt it was a black woman
darker.
who was sitting in the middle of the truck, and it was like a one-row truck. It wasn't a quad cab. It was a single row truck with her in the middle.
I get a color tan or brown for interior of the truck.
Yeah.
I get an X in the license plate. I get a 6. 5 possibly. I also hear the name Reed for some reason, R-E-E-D. I'm getting somebody involved in a equipment place, some kind of industrial equipment. I also get somebody at a motor shop. There's a lift for the cars. So I'm going to suspects in their work. I'm getting also something about bowling. Bowling.
Oh.
Maybe they bowl or something. I don't know. The victims. She was quite a doll.
Yeah.
Very
sweet, big heart.
Oh yeah, yep.
Loving towards a child.
Spiritual. How old was the child?
10.
And his name was?
Blake.
He tolerated a lot from
the father.
A
lot of
what was that? It's like he was scared or nervous or also a little angry too. I feel that with Blake there could have been some aggravated anger episodes that came out from something emotional that he went through in childhood. It was a routine. It was something that happened every night, very often in the household. Either some kind of bad words or something being said.
I felt it was a form of emotional trauma. This
Yeah.
little boy feeling like he was never good enough and feeling this sense of retaliation. And China being the one to console him, he loved her. He loved her tremendously. Like, he loved being there because she was there. She offered him comfort. And he loved his mother too. Like, this was a really interesting dynamic, because I was receiving that there was kind of a special relationship between the mother, the biological mother, and the stepmother, China. But this little boy kind of gravitated towards both of them, but was always feeling sort of, like you said, almost fearful towards his father.
He was upset. He was sad inside. He was upset.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
were hateful words.
Yeah.
Whatever the scenario is, or the clearing of the father here, I'm being totally neutral about it. There's some just big red flag character issues happening that I feel.
Right. So let's talk about the burglaries, because that was something you and I both picked up on before we even knew anything about anything with this case. I mean, y'all, there's very little out about this case. For as traumatic and terrible as it is, I will tell you there is very little information out about it, which I think is very sad. But at the same time, I will say it kind of helps me, because all I was getting were pictures, and I was getting these views that there was a burglary, some sort of interference there, and this was happening prior. And then this was driven from the photo. So then I'm trying to like collaborate that vision with actuality, and I'm going to research it, and I'm not getting much. So you and I, we both got, there were burglaries happening within this area.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at one point that their home might have been targeted, but they didn't carry through with it.
Well, yeah, and then we went that route. We thought, were these some thieves coming in, saw
Right.
them home, and carried out something? No. There was an argument. There was something, whatever was happening with this family, and whatever kind of lies had been told, there were some serious arguments going on.
And those arguments might have been in relation to alleged infidelity.
Yeah. There was something big, some big argument, and it got heated, and there were some threats made, and yeah. So I don't see the burglar scenario, and we did talk about that, and I was looking into that. I said, did the burglaries in the area come into the house and find them there by accident? And no, I don't think so. I don't think so.
So are you feeling that this is a murder for hire situation?
Not really for hire, no. I mean, it could be favors.
Favors.
It could be, yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about who did this? Who was involved, and at what request?
Well, it is possible that I am seeing a black male. I will just go with that. I do see some graying of the hair now. I see a large body, a body that once was working out a lot, like big legs, big arms, big butt, big. So I see a physically, unusually physically big sort of person. That's the one thing. I get a male, possibly another one with glasses. Who doesn't look like this guy.
Skinnier, smaller.
Yeah, possible facial hair, like mustache.
Short hair.
I think so. Why do I hear a colonel? I'll just put it out there. So the father was in the military?
Yes.
Well, if he was a colonel, I doubt he would be retired. You know.
Yeah, he, you know, I looked up his background report.
Oh.
And I saw, you know, he had some sort of tie to the military and also restaurant work. So it looked to me like he had gotten out at some point. I did not actually ever receive military in the visions that I received. But when I saw that, I felt it was very interesting, and maybe it could support the reason behind maybe how this went as effectively as it has with him not being captured.
I've also put the name Justin out there. Some kind of tie. I'm getting the name Justin. The big guy I was talking about looked like he could have been in the military. You know, he was just pretty big. So I'm not sure. This video is not a judgment. It is just whatever kind of comes to me. And it can't be used legally or anything. It can't be used for evidence. But, you know, if anybody's wondering about the case, I suppose we could give them a little insight in what we think, but it's very, very shady. When it's shady like that, that kind of means an inside job.
Right.
It's not like a bunch of guys holding up a liquor store and running in. That has a different feel. That has, you know what I mean, a start and an end. Something about this has a bunch of suspicious activity in it that's been happening ever since with the whole case. There's been, I would venture to say, there's a lot of people in that community who might know the answers to this, but it's not being investigated.
So with that said, I mean, the police do know. I think the police know a lot. And the problem that they're running into is lack of evidence. What do they do from here? How do they zero into this?
Well, the police need to look more closely at the ties around the father, friends, military. What state was this in again?
Indiana. Franklin, Indiana.
Why is everything happening in Indiana?
That's where my viewers are.
All your cases are in.
Yes, I have a lot of, I mean, I covered Delphi, and then it's like everyone's coming out of the woodwork with questions about other cases in Indiana. This state has a lot of problems. I mean, my goodness. It's Midwest. I don't know what's going on there. There's a lot of issues. And this is one to add to the listing.
I'm just going to look up Franklin and see if I get tied to. Just seeing if there's any ties to other areas and the suspect or suspects.
Mhm. One is out of state.
What?
You and I felt as though one of these perpetrators was tied to an out-of-state location, and we don't think he's there anymore.
Yeah, that's very possible.
And we weren't. I'm trying to remember. Now, you were actually the one that told me your thoughts on this. Did you say Ohio or Michigan?
Yeah, I think we were talking about Ohio, but I don't know if it was it this case or the case before we were talking about?
So interestingly, it was the case before.
Okay,
was
that's
also
what I
Ohio.
thought. Yeah.
But that's where I was like, I was getting confused because I didn't know if we had an additional Ohio situation.
So what I'm doing is any kind of words that came to me, I then see if I can pin on the map. Okay, so I'm looking at names. Oh, that's weird. I definitely get the Whiteland area as significant to maybe a suspect.
Whiteland, where is
It's kind
Whiteland?
of north. It's kind of north of there.
Okay.
I think they're still there. Whoever the suspects were, still there. I just need to look at some roads to see if anything matches up to and even something about Boeing. Let's see. Nearby. Okay. Yeah, so when these words are coming out at me, there's a highway, there's a place called 10 Pins, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow, they got 5 stars. Wow, I'm gonna go bowling now.
Wow.
They are off of Jefferson Street. Then I've got one that's Highway Lanes and Sports. Sorry guys, you got 4.5 stars. Oh, they got some nice bowling alleys though. And that's not too far away. So that could have something to do with location, possibly of suspects. I'm looking to see if there's any streets that match some of the names. I think one name was Justin I had, right?
Justin, yeah.
I also, something with a C, letter C.
Like Cunningham or Crimson.
There's a Jackson Street not far from the bowling alley. There's also, I'm just scrolling a little bit more here. Just as a side note, I'm going towards this Banta Street. Something about it. I don't know why it's coming to me. B-A-N-T-A. So I do that in cases when I'm even a missing pet. If a street comes to me or an area just out of the blue, I'm just like, okay, please check there.
Yeah.
But I don't see any name just in here for streets.
So maybe that was a name tied to one of the perpetrators.
Maybe.
So we're feeling, you and I both got this. We talked about this before we started recording, that there are 2 Black males involved One is larger in stature, strong. The other is skinnier, smaller, wears glasses. We did feel as though there was a female, a black female that may have been involved that was used in the stakeout.
Well, also,
Perhaps.
yeah, also remember it was very dark. So when I see these people, it's going to be dark out. Just want to put that as a side note. I
So-
think at least one, I pretty much only get one, possibly is African American. And it
Okay.
could be the others too, but I don't have a firm hit on that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So interestingly, this murder took place midday. This guy, her husband, had come home for lunch briefly,
Uh-huh.
and he had clocked in and out of his normal work schedule, and then it was around maybe 2 p.m., between 1 and 2 p.m., that this might have occurred. But it was really interesting to me because I felt like she needed sleep. And so initially I was thinking this was nighttime, but I need to rest. That was the inference. I think she needed to nap. And then I found out later that they had just traveled to some sort of missionary event, in a different country. So that made sense to me. I saw that she needed to rest, and the little boy was playing video games. And I got him in a room, and I see her trying to rest, and then she hears something, he hears something, he goes in towards her, they're confronted, and he tries to protect her.
Car was running too. Somebody's car was running.
Yeah.
Yeah, I keep hearing a car in the background running. It's almost like I don't know if a phone was used or not, but I heard somebody say something about a phone. Sorry, I was just looking at the map. But
Oh, that's fine.
so if we get more on this, we'll definitely let people know. Thanks for the input of the people, like the person you told us about who's given their input on this. I'm going to look over the notes that they gave again, because a lot of it's relevant, but I feel that what was the motivation here? There was a fight, argument, there's something about infidelity here.
Right.
Something.
Allegations of her, really. She was being targeted for, I believe, I don't know if you were getting that. I think that she was being accused of being adulterous.
I get that. I get that same thing.
Yes. And this mechanism of control from the husband.
I almost feel like she didn't want to come home.
Yeah. It was very tense. Like she was putting on a show for the child because she truly loved this child. She wanted to have kids of her own. She was, trying to move towards a new stage of life and was excited about it. And there was this darkness as another side of her. These allegations, I think this is where I'm hazy. It's like, how, if what we're saying it really happened, how?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
But why take it out on the child? If she was unfaithful, why take it on the child?
Because he was there. He was in the way. He wasn't meant to be the target. He wasn't meant. But he saw something and they had to silence him. They couldn't let him go because he would have exposed them.
I don't think he was I think that it's possible the child could have been moved too from where he was originally. I just saw something about his room. I don't know why, but either he was there. They might have actually been threatened first before everything broke out. So, yeah, there's some pretty big threats, and the threats I get are from a white male.
White male. Mm-hmm. No, I might be confusing the two black men with the robbers because I clearly saw two black men and a female African American.
We
There
did.
was a stockier one and a shorter one.
Well, that's why we stopped the last video. You know, we're like, why are we getting these people, these
Right.
people roaming the area? Because it's confusing with the suspect who actually did the murder. So,
Yeah.
but I keep hearing this man's voice. But he doesn't sound like he's from Indiana.
Where does he sound like he's from to you?
A little more south.
So maybe not local to Indiana, but they're on perhaps like some sort of military assignment.
Was the husband from Indiana?
I don't know.
Okay, well, if we find that out, I don't know. It could be an Indiana accent. I'm not sure. I'm in Virginia every day, so I know my home state, but I don't know Indiana accent. But it sounded a little more, just the way the words were said, very strong words.
Alabama?
It's possible.
I don't know why that just came to me. Got Alabama.
Yeah, it's possible. But I'm gonna have to go in a minute, actually.
Okay. So that's fine. Ending this, I know you have to go. I want to provide some sort of way forward for this that might help. So there were signatures of these burglaries and the slashing predominantly of screen doors, which was said to be more in a T shape, used with a knife. I don't think that this residence had that. I think that these perpetrators entered through the garage. That was my take. I saw them entering through the garage. The door was unlocked. The woman was in her bedroom. The little boy was in his room. He was brought out to the front room, and she was in the hall. That was what I got. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but
no, it's very possible. It was just, and what was the condition of the bodies that they found? Was there any kind of stab wounds?
There were stabbings and assaults. They were beaten. The little boy was beaten. The woman was stabbed. I felt that she was dragged from her original location. I felt that there was a blood trail.
Trauma to the head too with her.
Yep. Yes. Strangulation, perhaps.
That too. Somebody kicked. They were the suspect. They were wearing a pretty heavy boot.
Black. Yes.
Yeah, somehow they might, it's a possibility they might not have had laces on the boots. So it could be a steel toe work boot, slip on, something like that, but I was getting dark color. One of these people just had their car serviced or something. It feels like there was a receipt for a car service just about a day before they did that. So that's a big clue right there.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to look for these things when I'm doing these cases. I have to give them something that will tie it in. And yeah, somebody that went for a car service, then, well, what do you have? Maybe 12 people, 12 customers at a local car place. I mean, you just have to look through them. I get something about that. I keep smelling new rubber, like maybe tires were possible.
Mm-hmm.
They look like truck tires.
So you feel the person that committed this crime was perhaps a white male. The black individuals that we described were maybe not tied, but tied to the burglaries.
It's
hazy.
when I come down to, but the person that looked through the window at the side of the house.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like I saw burglars at the side of the house, and then I saw somebody going into the house. It's weird. I mean, maybe, maybe that happened at one point during the week. Who knows? I felt somebody was checking windows for being locked. But when this happened, when the murder happened, this is separate. This was go in, do this, and don't have any witnesses.
Yeah. And
it was very brutal.
Thank you. I know it really is. So what else? I mean, can you think of anything else that might help the investigators? Because I know that they have searched tooth and nail. They've gone through everything on this. We need to search the husband's affiliations. But aside from
that's basically, that's where I'm going with this. I think watch the husband.
Do you get prior convictions of this perpetrator or money trails?
Not really. Not really. I just feel a lot of actually, this person's gotten fired quite a bit from jobs.
What kind of jobs would you say?
I want to say mechanical. I want to say a little more labor intensive.
So more blue collar work, if he did have ties to the military, perhaps on an enlisted level.
Yep.
Okay.
So about something, I feel not such a great work history. I think just I don't know. So that's where I'm going with it. Is I just think that despite their evidence, they might have a feeling too that something just isn't right about him and the case.
Right.
I got a few individuals possibly, but at the end of the day, I'm hearing a guy's voice, and I'm still suspicious of the father.
So suspicious of the father, meaning that he might have orchestrated this but didn't carry it out?
No, he could have carried it out. See, the problem is they've got a lot of, and I think a lot of the questioning had to do about where he was.
Yeah.
I think the timing at work, I feel that it wasn't confirmed. I've seen, there's another case that I've been working on very similar to this too. They assured that this person was at a certain place at a certain time, but then they looked back at it and they said, well, this person often comes to this place, and I just assumed it's about the same time. Well, it's not the same day. You know what I mean? So you might have some missing time there that could have been part of this.
Yeah.
And
the camera footage isn't there, I don't think. They don't have documentation. They're going based off from word of mouth.
No,
I don't think they have footage.
There was something about the woman's trip that set this off.
Yeah.
The mother's, trip to the wherever she was, and that could have spurred on some of this. A lot of times the most perfect looking individuals or families are often the least perfect in reality. And I see that a lot, people that are
Yeah.
living these kind of bubble lives, but there's a lot of weird stuff going on behind the scenes, and I feel that there was something going on between them for a little while now. It wasn't just something that was found out, but it's been going on for a little while. And it could have been infidelity,
Right. So searching his computer history, maybe subpoenaing more in regards to where he was, when, surveillance footage. This was from a long time ago, and that leads me to believe that footage might not exist. But really investigating maybe the prior wives, the ex-wives, the people that have been involved in his life, family members, friends.
Well, when something like this happens and it leaves you kind of wondering if this person's innocent or not, and I'm sure that the authorities have looked at this too. They watch them. They watch them to see what they do in the future.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty much how they're going to go about this. Hopefully this whole video doesn't scare the pants off of people. But for what it's worth, do they have a close in the case now? No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they've missed something.
The problem is the most successful cases I've worked on, which I've done tons of them, is I don't really care about the logic, or I don't care about what was found, what wasn't found, because that can change in a moment. I mean, look at the Idaho murder case. It's like, oops, we don't exactly have what we said we had about the evidence here,
Yeah, it's a little concerning.
Yeah.
But we knew it.
Well, it's a little concerning because there's some dangerous people out there on the loose.
Exactly.
That's the main part about it. I mean, if they don't have enough to keep this Brian in, they're gonna have to let him go, and they're just gonna have to watch him.
Yeah. And like you said, I mean, it's very possible that they will be letting him go because the evidence that this guy is committed outside of some sort of stalking relationship.
Yeah, stalking is not murder.
Yeah, exactly. You're absolutely right. But I guess, you guys, I know we need to get going. We've been on here for a while. So if there is additional information requested, additional questions, I know it probably felt like we were maybe not so specific in this. There are multiple layers to this case that we're describing. Get in touch with us and let us know specifically the questions. We will work together to figure out what may have happened. Todd and I work so well together because he gets certain things, I get certain things. He gets more than me. He's much more experienced at this. But information I get oftentimes supplements what he receives, and so much from his end, vice versa. So, we've tried to be helpful here, but if there's more that's needed, please don't hesitate to reach out. So thank you all very much for watching. Todd, thank you for joining. I'm always so happy to see you. And until next time.
Well, thank you.